This video was produced by The Top Cut. Be sure to check out thetopcut.net, your home for Pokemon TCG, tournament coverage, professional game analysis, and interviews with the best players in the world. Thanks for watching. Hey everybody, this is Pooka bringing you round 7 of the Virginia State Championships between Jordan Parrish on the right. He's the guy with the Pokemon sticker on his hand and the wristband. And on the left, we have the one and only Michael Pramawat. And we have a Zekrom Eelektrik mirror match here. So we're going to see pretty much the same two decks go at it, and we'll see which player comes out on top. And we'll get to see if there are any real differences between these two players' decks, even though it's the same concept. Maybe they changed one or two cards here or there. And it'll be interesting to see what happens. And of course, the first big moment is going to be who goes first and who starts with what Pokemon. So, looks like Michael did mulligan, so that'll be a short one-card advantage here for Jordan starting off. And we see Michael had an interesting decision. He had a Tynamo and a Tornadus. He actually opted to start with the Tornadus in the active spot as opposed to the free retreating Tynamo. He didn't want to lose the Tynamo if he were to go second, because it does only have 30 hit points. That is a danger to put out there. Still, if you're going to just start with Tornadus, I don't see the reason why you would bench Tynamo. Maybe he's worried about getting knocked out in the first turn by a Pachirisu, Shaman, Zekrom. It's really the only way you can get knocked out on the first turn if you have a Tornadus active. So a little bit of a strange decision for him to bench the Tynamo. Not too far-fetched for someone to have a catcher if his opponent was able to do 30 damage anyway. But nevertheless, he will go first, so none of that really matters. We do see Jordan start with a Zekrom. We saw 0 for 2 on Dual Ball there from Michael. And looks like he got one that time. So I'm not sure if he got one or two. I apologize for the camera quality because looks like the venue was very bright here. Kind of made everything glare and made it tough to see what's going on. But fortunately, we can make out the card pictures. Can't really see intricate details like the dice, the numbers on those, but that's okay. So looks like he actually got 2 heads on the dual ball. So overall, he went 2 for 4. Not a big deal. We got 3 Tynamos out on the field on the first turn, which is great. Usually you want 3 Tynamos on the field because you just assume one's going to get knocked out since it only has 30 or 40 points depending on which one you run. So if your opponent plays Pokemon Catcher, which pretty much everyone does, usually they play 3 or 4, it's easy for them to just catcher up a Tynamo, switch it to the active spot, and hit it for 30 damage because it's really not a lot. Even the Zekrom here can do 20 with a double colorless, and then a plus power would knock out that poor Tynamo. So we do see Pramawat did start with a Tornadus, which is actually not your preferred starter in this matchup because he is weak to lightning, so that's a little unfortunate. He's not really a good attacker when your opponent plays things like Zekrom and Thundurus. Now if Jordan were to bench, let's say, Tynamo, Pramawat would have a catcher target, and that's what Tornadus can be good for. And speak of the devil, there's a Tynamo. Now, let's say Jordan just had the Zekrom there. If Michael attacks into it with Hurricane and just does 80 damage, then Zekrom would just use Outrage and knock him out. So, Tornadus, not good for fighting straight up against these attackers like Zekrom or Thundurus, but it's very good for some early aggression, for catcher, to get some cheap prizes, and we're probably going to see that here next turn if Michael has a double colorless energy and the catcher. So we see a second Zekrom here from Jordan and an Oak's New Theory. So I believe we saw a level ball before, so here we go. We'll see what he draws off his 6 cards. Now, what exactly would the key be to this matchup? I mean, it's a mirror match. Some mirror matches, you have defined strategies, like you want to target a certain Pokemon, you want to be the first one to set up a certain Pokemon, or even in some matchups, you actually don't want to take the first prize. So, in this case, I think the person who takes the first prize will be at an extreme advantage. Once both sides get set up, it's really just going to be a prize trade, depending on which Pokemon they go for. You know, I'm sure both players play Mewtwo EX, so the first person who puts down that Mewtwo EX, he will probably take a prize first of all. And we do see Michael play the level ball for Tyrogue, so I'm assuming he has a catcher in his hand. He'll probably get a free prize this turn with Mischievous Punch for 30. But even though you get the first prize with Mewtwo, your opponent can then play his own Mewtwo EX and then shift the prize lead. He'll take 2 prizes since the Mewtwo is an EX, and that can kind of be that situation where attacking first might not be the best thing. But looks like Michael's just going to lead off with the Tyrogue. He's going to knock out a Dynamo here. He's going to play Oak's New Theory first, hoping to get something good off of this. Hopefully get some Eelektriks going and start powering up some real attackers. You know, Tyrogue is a nice little card here that can pick off Dynamos. Most people shift it over to the 30 hit point Dynamo because it has a free retreat cost. And Michael's just taking advantage of that, saying, hey, I'm just going to play Tyrogue, hit him for 30 and a knockout, and it cost me no energy. So, kind of a neat addition he made to the deck. We saw Tyrogue be very, very popular at the initial phases of the Heart Gold Soul Silver on format, but it kind of fell out of favor around Worlds. Once people decided, it's probably not worth the spot anymore, but now here again it's shifting back. There's a lot of 30 hit point Dynamos out there, and we're seeing Michael bring it back into popularity, I suppose. So, Tyrogue does stay asleep, so due to its sweet sleeping face Pokebody, it will not take damage. So it's going to force Jordan to play catcher if he wants to hurt something. And there we go, he does play catcher, and he's going to be looking for certainly a plus power here. Outrage only does 20 at this point, so he's going to need a plus power to get a knockout here. Now getting back to what I think the key to this matchup would be, probably it would be, well, if your opponent goes for Mewtwo, the key to the matchup would be getting your own Mewtwo's out so you can respond and win the Mewtwo war. But if that doesn't happen, sometimes the games don't degenerate into that. Then the key is going to be whoever can target down the other player's Eelektриks and prevent his opponent from powering up multiple attackers. Now we see both players have been targeting down Dynamos at this point, so they are both very aware of this. Yep, there's a plus power, so we're gonna even up the score here. Both got 1 prize each, 1 Dynamo knocked out for each side. So both players recognizing, okay, I need to target down these Dynamos before they evolve. Because once Eelektrik comes out, Dynamotor is a pretty big deal. And we see another catcher, so Tyrogue's gonna get 2 Dynamos under its belt this game. And we see another dual ball. We'll wait to see what the results are of that. But both players recognizing the importance of knocking out these Dynamos. Now the other part of it just could be that you see, hey, Dynamo's only got 30 hit points, so that's going to be a cheap prize for me to take. I'll take that all day, every day. And, you know, there's just 2 reasons to target down Dynamos, I guess. Even if you weren't thinking about the fact that, yeah, I need to take him out, because that's kind of the, well, to make a bad pun, it's the motor that drives the engine of the Zekrom Eelektrik deck. Even if you didn't even realize that, you just say, hey, that's going to be a free prize, let's capture that out. So, both players playing it correctly for whatever reason that they might have. And we do see a level ball, which will get an Eelektrik. So Michael will get an Eelektrik of his own, start powering up a Zekrom, and we're really going to see this game kicking into high gear here as they both get some energy acceleration into play. Now, Michael, I'm sure he would love to get that second Eelektrik into play. And there's a Junk Arm. He's going to get rid of a Lightning and a Pokegear. And, yep, he's going to go right for that level ball. We'll see if he grabs an Eelektrik. And it looks like he does. So, he wants to get that out to prevent an easy knockout. Dynamo has 30 hit points, but Eelektrik has 90. It requires a bigger attacker to knock it out. Like that Zekrom over there would probably need to Bolt Strike. Or a Thunderous, that's also seen on the bench, would need a plus power. So it just makes it more difficult. And also he gets a little more energy acceleration. as now we can see that there is a fully powered Zekrom waiting for Jordan whenever he decides to make a move, and Tyrogue here is going to take his second prize. So definitely being worth his weight in gold in this match, probably worth even more than that. Taking 2 prizes, costing 0 energy, so very efficient this Tyrogue has been for Mr. Pramawat so far. Now, Jordan, what he's going to have to do here to win, we kind of entered an awkward phase of the game where we've entered a prize race, which means both players are pretty much going to be taking a prize every single turn. There's no real way to prevent that anymore. And, you know, he's behind in the prize race. So how do you catch up if you're behind? You might need to, you know, play a game-changing card, like something that couldn't be knocked out, like a Zekrom EX, since it has, what, it has 180 hit points, not easily knocked out. We do see that Jordan plays a plus power and a double colorless onto his Zekrom, so he might be targeting down that Zekrom that Michael has on the bench, which would be a questionable decision. I might favor going after an Eelektrik if he has a catcher in his hand, or if you're going to use the plus power, I would just go ahead and outrage the Tyrogue for a knockout, and force Michael to have some sort of trainer to respond with a knockout. That is one way that Jordan could come back. You know, Michael could just not have one of those trainers that would allow him to get a knockout, like a plus power or a catcher. That would be one way for Jordan to come back in this game. But right now he is behind. Now, of course, when you talk about comebacks, the biggest card that would allow that to happen would be N, which, for those who played when Rocket's admin was in the format, it's the exact same card. Both players shuffle their hands into their decks and then draw as many cards as they have prizes. So if he could play an N at a correct time, and then we do see a catcher, so he will get the knockout on the Zekrom. So if Jordan were to play an N at an opportune time and prevent Michael from having the resources to get a knockout, that's another way he could come back here. So this game is far, far, far from over, but we're going to see a race here, and we see Michael even getting rid of his N, realizing, okay, I'm probably not going to need that because I am in the lead. I'm not going to need to prevent Jordan from doing anything, but never mind, he's got another N. So I guess that must be the only draw card in his hand, and so he's just going to say, okay, I'm not really hurting myself here. I need a draw card, and maybe I can disrupt my opponent a little too, so might as well get rid of this N. But he discards the other one with the junk arm, knowing, okay, this card is going to be useless as the game goes on. My opponent's going to be trying to do this to me, so I might as well just get rid of it. Because in the later stages of the game, N actually is a very bad draw card. You know, it doesn't really work. Usually it'll net you like 1 or 2 cards at the end of the game. It's more for disruption at that point. So Michael realizes, okay, I don't really need to disrupt my opponent, so I might as well just get rid of it. And he makes the correct decision there. So we're going to see actually Tyrogue get his 3rd prize here. Now Jordan benched another Dynamo, which could have been a mistake. You never know. He wanted to get that 2nd Eelektrik into play, but it was just another liability. And Tyrogue has taken 3 prizes at this point. He's definitely the MVP of this game. And out comes Zekrom. Looks like Tyrogue, his run might be over if Zekrom decides to attack it. And, ooh, another Dynamo goes down for Jordan. I don't think I agree with this. At this point, Michael is at 3 prizes, so you got to think, okay, how many prizes can I afford to give up anymore? Can I afford to give up a free prize with catcher? And I don't think he can. If you look at this, Michael can see, okay, in the next 3 turns, I got my 3 prizes planned out. The first one's going to be catcher on that Dynamo. The second one can be either attacking this Zekrom, since he already bolt striked, he put 50 on it from a plus power. It can be Hurricane to knock it out, or really anything that does 80. And then from there, it's just another catcher, probably bring up Eelektrik and get a nice knockout with the Zekrom. So the win is in clear sight for Michael. It's just whether or not he'll have the cards to pull it all off. Now, if you're Jordan, again, You're just kind of hoping that Michael doesn't have anything. And he actually promotes an Eelektrik here, which is kind of a strange decision. You might want to attack with it. And looks like he's going to Super Rod. Good old Tyrogue back in the deck. He's going to put in Tyrogue, Zekrom, and Tynamo. So it's going back in the deck. And he's going to level ball for the Tyrogue. So could we see Tyrogue get 4 prizes in one game? Really? He's going to go for another Tynamo. You know, if he has that catcher, that's certainly a possibility. And we do see a Lightning onto Tornadus. And we do see him Juniper away on Mewtwo. Now, he doesn't want to bench that. That would be another way for Jordan to get back in this game. If Michael were to bench an EX, that could be the 2-prize swing that he needs to get back in this game. But right now, Michael has that 2-prize lead, or 1-prize lead, I apologize. And he's just going to go and try to get it, just close out the game. So, we will see 2 more Dynamotors onto Zekrom. And it looks like he didn't get a catcher, so he's just going to go ahead and Hurricane the active. Not really going the way he planned it out, but still 2 catchers away from a victory if he can knock out that Eelektrik on the bench, and then that other Tynamo, which I'm sure will evolve to Eelektrik sometime soon. Otherwise, I don't think Jordan would have benched that Tynamo. I'm sure he's got a way to get the Eelektrik. So let's see. Now, as I mentioned before, Tornadus is not a good attacker, and there is the Eelektrik. Tornadus is not a good attacker in a mirror match because he is weak to Lightning, and Thunderous happens to be Lightning. So, we will see a Disaster Volt knocking out this Tornadus' turn. And really, it's really going to come down to whether or not Michael gets that final attacker to win the game. Zekrom clearly can Bolt Strike the Thunderous for 120 damage. We do see a Dual Ball for another Thunderous. So Zekrom certainly can Bolt Strike for 120 damage, knocking out this active Thunderous, unless he were to play an Eviolite, which I haven't seen yet. That would be a way for Jordan to prevent a knockout. Then Michael would need a plus power to do that extra damage to get past the Eviolite. And here we have a double colorless come down. Not really the energy he wants to use, but that's okay. And we're probably just going to see a Disaster Volt for a knockout. Jordan would love to play an N at some point. I'm not sure if he plays it, but if he did, he needs to get one, well, on his next turn, honestly. Otherwise, I'm sure Michael will have the resources to pull off the win here. So, here comes Tyrogue, who's probably been the MVP. He's taken 3 prizes this game. Michael does bench that Thunderous, and he's just going to attach to it. Now, the benefit of having... oh, we do see a plus power as well. The benefit of having... I'm not sure why Michael played that plus power, to be honest, but the benefit of having 2 Eelektriks in play is that you can really charge up any of your attackers in one turn. You can just Dynamotor twice, attach, and look at that, you already got 3 energy. It powers up Zekrom, Thunderous, Tornadus, whatever you want. If you have a double colorless energy, you can even power up a Zekrom EX in one turn to do 150. And it looks like he played that plus power because he was going right for the catcher, and he's going to catcher out the Eelektrik. And I like this play. It's going to allow him to Disaster Volt with Thunderous. And this is kind of a clever move for a few reasons. The first one is he's just going to knock out that Eelektrik, get a prize, and that's going to be that. Now the second one is he's not putting his own Zekrom into harm's way. Why is that important? Let's say Jordan were to attack with his own Thunderous, maybe catcher out Tyrogue, get a knockout. Well, then it just gets knocked out by Zekrom's Bolt Strike and the game ends. Let's say Jordan promotes his own Zekrom and Bolt Strikes the active Thunderous. Well, then Michael's Zekrom comes up and Bolt Strikes, and the game's over. Well, let's say that Jordan has a catcher, and he catchers out Michael's Zekrom, and then plays a plus power, and he Bolt Strikes for 130. Well, in that case, he'd actually do 50 damage to himself, and oop, I apologize, the camera's getting moved around here. We can see Michael's telling the cameraman that he is not very intelligent right now and to leave it in place. I will assume that's Ben Potter, so shame on you, Ben. So anyway, What I was getting at was, if Jordan had every card he needed, a catcher and a plus power to knock out Michael's Zekrom, then he would do 50 to himself with Bolt Strike because of the plus power, and then Thunderous would just come up and use Disaster Volt, and Michael would still win. So, what is the answer here if you're Jordan? Now, the first one that comes to mind would be Eviolite. That would be one way for him to survive. Second one would be, hey, Mewtwo. Now, Mewtwo, of course, has 170 hit points. He can take quite a beating. He's not really going to get knocked out by anything except for an opponent's Mewtwo EX. So, that's really the answer for Jordan here. I also think he's going to need an N. If he doesn't play an N this turn, I really don't see him winning this game. Michael just looks like he has too many cards in his hand, too much stuff, and there's really not going to be a way for him to win. So there is a plus power. Hasn't played an energy yet. He chooses the Zekrom. Now, I'm not sure why he's doing this. Maybe, no, I don't really know why he's doing this, but looks like he's got a switch. Sending up Mewtwo. And not sure what he's going for, because, I guess he could get a double colorless energy. Didn't think of that. I think the better choice might have been to catcher out the Tyrogue. Just get a knockout there, but this is actually maybe one of his best ways to win. If he gets a double colorless energy, then we could see just X-Ball, and there's a Shaman, so hey, there you go. Now Shaman will allow him to use Celebration Wind and move the energy onto Mewtwo, and that way he'll be able to X-Ball for 130 damage and get a knockout here, but he actually needs to move one more energy. Not sure what he's doing. And Michael's pointing out, yeah, you didn't have enough energy to knock me out with X-Ball. Alright, so he says, okay, it's okay. Move the energy up, it's alright. Mistakes happen. So almost a huge mistake there, but Michael let him take it back. I'm sure Michael's got a way to win. That's probably why he doesn't care. And he goes for the Juniper. Here we go. Now he just needs a catcher and he'll win the game. He can knock out that Shaman. And there's the catcher. Out comes the Shaman. Dynamotor onto Thunderous. We're going to see a Disaster Volt. And Michael Pramawat will be your winner. He is the undefeated player in Swiss. He goes 7-0. Jordan Parrish drops to 6-1. But both of these players will be in the top 16. So, pretty exciting either way for both these players. They both know they're in the cut, but Michael does get that prestigious honor of finishing first and undefeated in the Swiss rounds. So, hope you enjoyed this game. That was round 7 from Virginia States. We will actually have matches from the top cut rounds, top 16, top 8, top 4, and the finals. So, stay tuned as we have those up here on the site next. If you have any feedback, please leave it in the comments. Until then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.